Well, hello there, mamas. Welcome back. My name is Mama Mudhoni. I'm also known as Wangeshi Wandere Kihara. I'm a certified lactation counselor, as well as a certified child nutrition practitioner. I am also a new parent educator. That means I can support you and your family during pregnancy, when you give birth, with sleep, with the lactation, with your baby's nutrition, your baby is not adding enough weight, etc, etc. Today, I'm going to be doing one of my most requested videos, which is basically about ovulation tracking, gender swaying, and also because for the last 1 year, I've really been talking about PCOS, I'm also going to be talking about PCOS. This video is from me as Wangeshi, me as Mama Mudhoni. I am not a doctor. I am not your doctor. I am not a PCOS expert. So I'm just talking about this from my perspective and what has worked for me as Wangeshi. Please take your time to do your own research. I've done a lot of research on this to find out what works for me and what works for me in terms of gender swaying. So please make sure that you do your own research as well before you decide on whether you want to follow my way or follow another way. And it's always very important to work closely with your doctor. I have notes, as usual, when I talk about heavy topics so that I don't forget anything. So let's start. PCOS. What is PCOS? PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a syndrome that, let's say, basically sort of starts from your ovaries, where your ovaries are polycystic, meaning that they're a lot more than they should be. You can Google that and then look at a normal ovary, what it looks like, and then what a polycystic ovary looks like. Anyway, so most of people come to know about PCOS so that they have PCOS when they're trying to get pregnant and they're not being able to get pregnant, and then they go to their doctor, they do an ultrasound, and then the doctor diagnoses them with PCOS. One thing that I love to tell moms or women is that PCOS is not just a fertility issue, because most of us, me including, for a few years, I was diagnosed with PCOS. I took it as a fertility issue. So you take your fertility drugs, you get pregnant, you stop, you move on until the next time you're trying to get pregnant. You take your drugs again, or rather for me, take my drugs again, get pregnant, forget about medication until the next baby. But one thing I have come to learn is that PCOS is actually, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a holistic, it's a really bad syndrome. Or it's not, it affects so many things in your life. It affects your fertility. It can affect your heart, can give you fatty liver disease, can give you diabetes, can affect your mental health, because women who have PCOS are more likely to suffer from anxiety, more likely to suffer from depression. And actually, I had postpartum depression. That's another very requested video. One day I'll do that. So basically what I'm trying to say is PCOS affects a lot more than just your fertility. And it's one of those things that you really need to educate yourself about so that you know what to do to lessen your symptoms. And just remember that your symptoms are not just about getting pregnant. So for me, some of the symptoms I had were not being able to sleep very well due to insulin resistance, having hyperpigmentation. At some point, I'd been told that my liver looks like it's a bit fatty. I later came to find out that that's about PCOS. Having issues with anxiety, PCOS, I'm really sorry about the noise. I'm at home. Having issues with anxiety, having issues with things like cravings. Like, I really used to have really bad cravings. In fact, at the point at which I decided to actually do more research about my life, I'd eat chocolate as I cried. Like, literally, I'd go and buy it because I was craving. And then the point at which I was eating it, I'd be crying like tears because my cravings are so bad, I can't do anything about it. And if I try and stop it, like, the cravings just become so much worse. So there was the craving of sugar and waking up tired, or ever being tired. Like, I sleep, I'm tired. I wake up, I'm tired. I sleep, let's say I sleep even 10, 12 hours, stay in bed, not being able to be productive. And then I still wake up and I'm really, really tired. But with time, I've been able to learn what works for me. Maybe I'll do a whole other video about that, because this video today is about tracking your ovulation. But yeah, things are a lot better now. In fact, a lot of my symptoms have really, really gone away. Apart from a bit of hyperpigmentation, most of my other symptoms have gone away. Periods. So a normal cycle goes anything from 28 days to about 35 days. That's what a normal cycle is. So majority of my life, my cycle has been around 28 days, 30 days, 31 days in general. At some point last year, my cycle shot to about 45 days, and that's actually the point at which I decided to try and do something about it, because I have been trying to get pregnant for quite a while. And then at around the same time is also the time when I was having really bad cravings. So those two came together and I was able to do something about my PCOS. Anyway, that's a normal cycle. With a normal cycle, the average cycle that we are taught in school is 28 days. So we are always told that ovulation happens on day 14. So most of us, including me, I grew up knowing that ovulation happens on day 14. It doesn't matter how long your cycle is. So for quite a bit of time when I was trying to get pregnant with Modoni, with my first child, I didn't know that ovulation does not happen on day 14 for everybody. So it took me, I'm going to talk about that later. It took me a while to actually realize what was actually my ovulation time. An irregular cycle is anything above 35 days. And for most women with PCOS, they'll get a period maybe once every 2 months or once every 3 months. Some get maybe 3 cycles a year. And with that, it becomes really hard for a woman with an irregular cycle to figure out their cycle in order to get pregnant. But we're going to talk about that as well. Please remember, I am not your doctor. You need to talk to your doctor and work with your doctor. I'm talking about what worked for me. So with my first baby, when I was trying to get pregnant and I realized I wasn't getting pregnant after a few months, and then I went to hospital, I was diagnosed with PCOS. I started tracking my cycle just to figure out where things are at. And I realized that my cycle was 32 days. And that meant that then I would be having my ovulation at around day 18 and not day 14. So that's also the time when I noticed, or rather I found out, that you ovulate 14 days before your cycle begins. Your cycle begins day 1 of your period, right? So you ovulate 14 days, and this is for everybody. It doesn't matter how long your cycle is. You ovulate 14 days before your cycle begins. So if you're having a 30-day cycle, that means you ovulate on day 16. If you're having a 32-day cycle, you ovulate on day 18. If you're having a 40-day cycle, it means that you ovulate on day 26 and not on day 14. So how I figured out my ovulation there, or how you can figure yours out, is if your period is around 30 days, 32 days, 33 days, then at around day 10 of your cycle, that means your period started on day 1. So 10 days later, then you start testing. So you get your ovulation kit and you test. You pee on it, you pee on a thing, you dip it. Let me actually just show you with some kits. The ovulation kit comes in such a paper. I buy from, locally you can get from Ovulation Kits Kenya on IG. This is what it looks like inside. It's written LH. It more or less looks like a pregnancy test kit, but different here. Like the hormone that is being tested is different. I'll remember. Anyway, so it comes like that, and then you put it in your urine, just like a pregnancy test. But now herein comes the difference. I'll show you some old ones I had. I thought I'd put the positive ones, but I don't have. The camera can just come very close. So remember, it looks like this. Then once you put it in the urine, if you're about to ovulate or if you're in your fertile time, it will come looking like this. I don't know whether it's visible. Like it will have 2 lines, but one will be more faded. So if this was a pregnancy test, you'd say that you're pregnant, right? Because this line is like, it's there, but it's not really there. But the thing now with your OPK test is that this line, the test line, and that's what they're called. What is it called? The control line. No, test line, the test line. The control line is this one that will always be there. So the test line has to be as dark as the control line. So these 2 lines have to be the same amount of darkness for it to be a positive test. So anything before that that's a bit faded, it means that it's coming, right? Or it just passed. But most times, because you're testing from before, it will be showing you that your ovulation is about to come. Don't mind my finger, I broke it yesterday and it's still so painful. Anyway, so you have to wait for this to be completely positive for it to be a positive test. But if it's slightly positive, it means that you're still fertile, but the test is not yet positive. Are we together? Let me try and summarize that again. Pregnancy test, any line on any line on the test line means that it's positive. For an ovulation test to be positive, the test line and the control line have to be the same amount of darkness for it to be positive. But if it's a bit positive, like slightly lighter, it means that you're still fertile, but the ovulation test kit, the ovulation is not yet there. Okay, I really hope I've made sense. Kama sija make sense, poleni, but you can always DM me, but I believe I've made sense. Now, if you're having an irregular cycle, you can start testing from day 10. So usually what for me I do, I start from day 10. Usually I'll ovulate anything between day 14 and day 18. So I'll start day 10 and then I'll test like every second day or every day, but mostly every second day until maybe day 15, 16, and then I'll test every morning. If your period is very irregular, you can start from day 10 or day 15 if you're very sure that you don't ovulate on day 14. Then you can test every 3 or 4 days because these things, actually ovulation test kits, Kenya, they're not expensive. Pharmacies are very expensive. If you buy from ovulation kits, Kenya, they're not very expensive. So you can choose to do it like every 2 days. Then once you start getting the line, then you know that your ovulation is coming closer. Right? So if, for example, your cycle is 40 days, then at around day 22, it will start turning darker and darker and darker. By day 22, maybe you'll have used maybe 5 or maybe around 5 kits. And then now you'll be able to tell exactly when your ovulation time is coming. And then now when it's fertile, then now you start having sex if you don't care about the sex of your child. If you care about the sex of your child, I'm going to talk about that just now. I hope I've made sense. Now, for gender swaying. Before I get to gender swaying, the thing with PCOS is sometimes these kits can be positive, but you still don't ovulate. It's called anovulation. And this is because of hormonal imbalance. So if that is happening to you, please talk to your doctor. Even during your trying to conceive journey, just talk to your doctor, have him do tests, have him do like him or her do ultrasounds during the time when the kits look positive, so they can now go in and actually see if there's an egg that looks like it's going to mature enough or going to be big enough to be released and be etc. scientific. Talk to your doctor. With an ovulation, the best thing to do now is do your hormonal tests and then now try and regulate your hormones. Your doctor is going to help you with that. I had issues with my hormones. Again, that's a story for another day. I think I've been able to, the last times I checked my hormones, I've been able to regulate. Now, after an ovulation, now we move on to gender swaying. With gender swaying, again, this is what I did. Please, if you don't believe in this, I do not want negative comments. This is what worked for me. It works for a lot of people. There's a method called Shettles, SHETTLES method. He's a doctor, did some research in the 60s, and his method has been used since then. And basically what it's about is the timing of sex. I think before I continue, let me say this. If this triggers you, especially if you have PCOS and if you have yet to get a baby, please feel free to drop off. I completely understand that this can be very triggering to some, especially those who are still trying to conceive. And don't take offense. Anyway, Shettles method is basically about the timing of sex. So you count your days. For reference, we're going to use a 28-day cycle because that's what we all learned in school. So you'd start having sex. For a boy, you'd have sex much closer to day 14. For a girl, you'd have sex much earlier and stop about maybe day 10, 11 of your cycle. That's with Shettles method. Now, apart from that, there are very many other things that people say or scientists have now come up to know that can help. In school, we are taught that the man determines the sex of the child, which is true because of the XY chromosome, right? And there's nothing a woman can do about that. But now what research has begun to show is that the environment that the sperms get determine how long the XY or the XX or stay inside your body. So if you create an environment that's more acidic, then the girl's sperm is able to move and thrive for longer. If you create an environment that has more base, then the boy's sperm is able to thrive more. And now this is where maternal diet comes in trying to gender sway and douching and all these things. Me again, I say, but if this is not for you, step out, and I completely understand. I'm just talking about what has worked for me as Mama Muthoni. So with my son, I was trying to get a boy, or rather now after my daughter Muthoni. That time I didn't care what I was getting. So with my second child, I really wanted to get a boy. My cousin, she's called Shiro, Julie Shiro. She's the one who actually she did a lot of research on this. And she was one who was telling me, eat this, kulai, fanya hii siku. And for her, she was able to sway 2 boys. And then she was also able to help another cousin of ours sway a girl using the diet method. So with the boy, we'd only have intercourse, let me put it that way, much closer to ovulation day. So if, for example, if your test tests positive today, it means that you're going to be ovulating within the next 12 to 36 hours. So now I would have sex today or maybe the next day. Yeah, that's basically what you're supposed to do for a boy. On top of that, I was on the keto diet. The keto diet increases your testosterone because of the amount of red meat you have. And then I was also douching with baking soda. Yeah, baking soda, not baking powder, baking soda, so as to create a more base environment in your vagina. For girl, you actually are just supposed to reduce the amount of red meat you eat more white meat, eat more acidic fruits. There's a lot of medication that people take, a lot. And if you go online and search on your own peril, do this. It's not Mama Mudhoni who told you to do. And it's not a guarantee. Anyway, at the end of the day, it's God who decides whether you get a boy or a girl. There's a lot of medication that people take. There's a lot of supplements that people take. Personally, I didn't do that because it was not that important for me to whether I got a boy or a girl. So I didn't go the medication way. I don't even remember what the medications are, and I even wouldn't tell you. But online, if you go online, even on Facebook groups and just Google like the gender swaying groups, you'll get a long list. And people sometimes actually do it for like 3 to 6 months before they start trying to conceive. If that's a way that you want to do it, you can do it. But basically for a girl, you just take more acidic foods to try and create a more acidic environment inside your birth canal. The other thing is also when you have sex. So now after your period, you start having sex. Again, you're working with a 14-day cycle. You start having sex around day 7, day 8. Remember, sperms lasts about 5 days. So around day 8, day 9, actually, you start having sex. So that now this sperm, the girl sperms are usually, they last for longer, but they swim slow. So now they'd swim slow, and then day 14, when your ovulation is coming, then they'd be there. The boy sperms, they move very quick, but they die very quick. So now if you have sex on this day 10, for example, by day 14, they are likely dead. So they didn't make it to the egg. The girl sperm will make it to the egg. But if you have sex on day 13 and you ovulate on day 14, or have sex on day 14, then the boy sperm would shoot really quickly and get to the egg, and therefore be able to fertilize the egg as the girl sperm is coming slowly. And that's just basically it. Your diet, try and create a more base environment for the boy sperm, for the girl sperm, or if you want a girl, you create a more acidic environment. If you need more information, there's a lot of it on Google. I did not do it. It was not that important to me, and therefore I can't share something that I didn't do because this is not my profession. I'm talking about my own experience. Yes, and that's it. So remember, you're doing great, Mama. If you're trying to conceive, baby, that's to you. I wish you all the best, and I hope that God gives you a baby when you're ready and also when he's ready. And remember, you're doing great, Mama. See you next time.